Hey folks, let's take a look at the Sears Christmas catalog toy pages from 1964. The good old Sears and Roebuck Wishbook. And that's what the cover looked like. Of course, this is reprints, and it's the boys' toys. So, sorry, no girls' toys pages, but I'm going to scan around with the camera here, and we will have to wait for it to be finicky and focus, but you can get an idea of some of the toys that were for sale here in 1964 and the prices. These are pedal cars, of course, and I'm going to just scan around here and try to fully encompass the pages, and you can pause the video later and read this stuff, hopefully, if that's, if you want to read these descriptions. Kind of a blast from the past. I figured, around Christmas time, we all get nostalgic for the good old days when we were kids and we had some great toys under the tree. And I thought I'd do the 1964 Sears Christmas catalog, because there were some pretty cool toys that came out in 1964. Here are the Cowboy guns and holsters, Bonanza, Roy Rogers double holster. The prices just blow you away on this stuff now. Yes, you could get real value for your money back in the day. Long gone. But hopefully you guys can kind of travel back to that time briefly here for this video and enjoy looking at some of this stuff. Could play soldier with some Remco stuff there. Rapid fire machine gun. Pretty cool stuff. I tried shooting this different ways, and this is the best, most effective way that I could come up with, is just scan around, and that way it seems like the camera focuses a little bit better when you get it a certain distance away, and try to maintain that instead of when after you turn the page, having to bring the whole catalog up to the camera when it's on the tripod and all that. Of course, it's gonna be finicky about focusing. These cameras excel at that. Yeah, it used to be that you could play soldier and have fun, And there are more Cowboy guns. And it looks like a Confederate gun set there. There's a sweet looking piece, scout rifle, Western Marshall outfit. Get the whole thing for $4.88. Mattel Shoot and Shell Buffalo Hunter set. Mattel Winchester Frontier set. I mean, man, you could get some cool toys for the money. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Now these things are, 50 or 100 times those prices in the collector market, or maybe more in some cases. Ideal, that was another big company back then. Yeah, boys like to play cowboy and soldier back then, you know. And some big metal trucks there. Looks like Tonkas. Of course, with Sears, you know, they a lot of times they didn't name who really made the toy. It was just Sears, you know. They didn't want to. Now there's by Marx. I guess Marx was big enough to insist that, you know, getting in on the credits. Super Crane and Big Job Dump Truck. And I'm going to try to get all these in this video. It might be, you know, it might be kind of a long video, but hey, it's just watch what you want, you know. If you don't want to look at the trucks, skip ahead and go to the play sets or whatever, you know. Trying to get it all in here for everybody to enjoy the Wishbook pages. Man, I had those original catalogs back in the day. I had this one, the 1964 one. And those things stayed stacked up under a bookcase at my home for years, along with my comic books and some other stuff, monster magazines and different things. And like a fool, I thought I was too grown up for that when I became a teenager. You know, we're all at our stupidest when when we think we know everything and we're just getting started living, really. And I threw them away. In the 70s, I was a teenager, and I got to get rid of these. You know, they're kids stuff. And now, you know, I'd give anything if I hadn't have been such an idiot and thrown those away. I had them all from the 60s and into the 70s, you know, early 70s. The Sears and some of the pennies and different companies, you know, Montgomery Ward's, Motorific by Ideal. Yeah, I had a huge stack of Christmas catalogs. And now they'd be worth a small fortune if I'd have just kept them. You know, like the old saying, you're never sorry for something you bought, but you're sorry for something you got rid of. And that's not 100% true, but it's usually the case. Mr. Kelly's Car Wash, I remember that. I never had one. Considering all the cool toys, you know, that always struck me as a little lame. Of course, you know, if any of you guys had it and enjoyed it, that's great. I don't want to belittle it for you, but it just wasn't for me. Now, there's Crazy Clock Game by Ideal. And Mousetrap, of course. Man, I remember that. I never had that one either. And Time Bomb. Game called Pal. And what is that there? It's Cookie Chicks. Fascination. Bridget. Now we're getting into some of the big Tonka type vehicles. There were also Buddy L, so I'm not sure where Sears got these in particular. I had a couple of these things. I never was real big on them. For one thing, they took up a lot of room, and I mean, I could get a whole playset for what one of these big things would cost. There's a Marx dump truck. Pretty cool. And I was always more of a monster dinosaur type kid, you know, with the play sets and you know, anything to do with monsters and dinosaurs, I was all about it. Or superheroes, you know. I mean, I was into the Captain Action, and of course, you know, before that, the G.I. Joes, and like a fool, I got rid of that stuff too. Of course, I got some real money out of the G.I. Joes. I didn't get rid of that until much later. I took the money that I sold my G.I. Joe stuff and Hot Wheels for and made the down payment on my first house. but still wish I had that stuff back. It's worth a lot more now than it was when I sold it, that's for sure. It's hard to find a better investment than old collectibles. Barney's Auto Factory. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because I want to get all this in this video, and I don't want it to be an hour. And there are several pages of these. There's the 12-dog kennel truck or pickup. And that's Buddy L. Camping equipment. And more kennel trucks. And what we got there? It's ice cream truck. Okay. Try not to dwell on anything, but you know, if I can't get it to focus at all, I try to. There's Lego. That was huge even back then. I tried to linger over something and get it to focus at least for a couple of seconds so you guys can pause the video and actually read it if you want to. Toy maker set. Lego car and garage set, 72 cents. There's Tinker Toys. And American high impact plastic bricks. And I'm sure a lot of you people watching that will watch this video later on had a lot of this stuff. There's a Sears elevator service center. It's an elaborate toy. Yeah, they had some pretty awesome toys back then. And a lot of them were sold in grocery stores. Now here are some Marx play sets. Battle of Vikings and Knights. Yeah, there are a lot of these pages in color. Play sets with hand-painted miniature figures. There's the Charge of the Light Brigade. Sands of Iwo Jima. You see some of this stuff on eBay now, but it's almost never complete. It's just, you know, bits and pieces. Invasion Day. And Custer's Last Stand. 20 Minutes to Berlin. That's cool. I always like the World War II sets a lot. Those Western sets, I had Fort Apache, you know, and the Western sets were okay, but I never got as excited about them as I did the war sets. Never was big into Civil War, but that Battle of the Blue and Gray, that's a pretty elaborate play set for Marx. Try and get it to focus on the photo so you can see what it looks like set up. It's pretty spectacular. The Desert Fox set. Now this is cool. I mean, those tanks are true to the original designs. You know, the German Tiger tanks and the American Sherman tanks. Very cool. And they had different sizes of the play sets. You could get the big one, 312 pieces for $9.99. Come on, would it kill you to focus? Now, you guys can read that if you want to. Or you can get the smaller sets for less, you know. And here is a jet terminal. Now, here we go. Hamilton's Invaders. My parents bought me the big 17-piece set when I was 5 years old in 1964 for Christmas. And I loved it. I still have a few pieces from that set, but I bought a 12-piece set from an eBay seller, and I did a video on that, and I will post a link in the description for that video if you guys want to check out that set in detail. In my videos, there's Mr. Mercury. In my videos, when I do a video on a playset, I go into detail and I show you all the components and what it originally contained and everything. There's the Monster Lab by Ideal. Never had that. The Creeping Hand. But anyway, I cover a lot of playsets on my channel, and I'm going to be covering a lot more, especially dinosaur playsets. So you guys check out my videos if you get, when you get the chance. Just go to my channel page and check them out if you're into this stuff, because I show you everything that the playsets contained new so that you can complete your own, because when you buy the stuff on eBay, you're buying usually bits and pieces here and there, and you got to build your own playset. You're lucky just to get an original box and whatever paperwork came with it, and then you got to buy several lots of eBay, from eBay sellers in order to get enough stuff to complete the thing, because nobody ever has the whole playset. People played with them down through the years and lost pieces, and you very, very seldom ever find one complete. And if somebody says it's complete, you don't really know it's complete. I go into detail in my videos and show you what the sets that I do videos on originally contained. And you can use that information to put your own sets together if that's what you want to, if that's what you want to do. The Battle of Iwo Jima. Wow, 247 pieces for $8.97. Just these prices are just amazing. Now we're getting into some G.I. Joe here. I had a lot of this stuff. I had the talking G.I. Joe and a couple of the regular G.I. Joes, and when the Adventure Team stuff came out later, the bearded G.I. Joes, I had a couple of those guys. And some of the adventure sets, and really cool detailed stuff. But when you'd buy those accessory packs like in dime stores, they were pretty expensive. Like you could buy just one accessory pack, like a helmet with camo and netting, and it'd be like $1. They really went nuts on some of the asking prices. But you could buy the bigger sets and the actual figures really cheap for all that you got. I mean, just look at these prices. Dirt cheap. And there's the Sailor, Action Sailor. Action Pilot. I don't think I ever had any of the other branches of the military's G.I. Joe figures. I just had the Army, and then when the Adventure Team stuff came out, I had those guys. Those were kind of like mercenaries, I guess, or just freelance adventurers, Stony, I remember that. That was kind of a G.I. Joe knockoff by Marx. Come on, would it kill you just to focus? Logitech camera, take your time. Take your time, buddy. $249. They were cheaper than Joe's, and they were, a little bit different. They didn't have some of the detail the G.I. Joe's did. Now this is really cool. Giant 3-foot tank. There's a cap firing tank, 15 GIs, remote control tank, smoking German tank, Big Long Tom. Military construction set. And you know, we got some train stuff here. I never got into the trains myself, but I know a lot of people collected those. You could drop some money even back then on those elaborate train setups. You know, this is looking pretty good on my screen for the most part. I hope it's showing up good for the video. I want you guys to see all this, because this is a window in time that's very dear to many of us. When we would come down on Christmas morning and tear into the stuff under the tree and get some really wonderful toys. It was a big deal back then, a real big deal. See what we got here. Blast off, fire a long-tom missile by remote control. Target range car. Military freighter. Fire a whirling satellite in trestle set by Lionel. Yeah, that was a big-time train manufacturer. Here's some HO scale slot cars by Marx. Marx was huge. There's Aurora. They were big too. And here's more slot car racing. Skydriver by Marx. Could do crisscross jumps. I wasn't a big slot car guy. I had some friends that were. I really got into Hot Wheels when they came out in like the end of 67, I think. And 68 especially, and then on up into the early 70s, I was big time into Hot Wheels and had a lot of those sets and a lot of the cars. I don't really collect that stuff anymore. I sold the ones I had and couldn't really afford to get back into it and reclaim what I had, so I mainly concentrate on monster and dinosaur stuff these days. But I have fond memories of those other toys, you know. And if I came across a big collection that I could afford, I'd certainly jump on it. G.I. Joes or Hot Wheels, and especially Captain Action stuff, you know. I had that Batman and the Justice League play set for my deal. My God, that thing was only like $4 or $5 back then, and now it's a fortune. You can ever find one. And like a fool, I had most of that left, and I sold that a few years ago. And, you know, it's winding down now. We got the slot car stuff here, and I'll try to get it here for any of you guys into this stuff that want to read this. You know, just pause the video in places, and you can capture the gist of what's going on. Kenner motorized sets. Girder and panel sets. For me, the highlights were the play sets, and then, you know, the G.I. Joe stuff's pretty spectacular too. Kenner Skyrail. But, you know, especially the Hamilton's Invaders stuff, I just love that, you know. And I've got the 12-piece set with the cave and everything. I did a video on that. Like I said, I'll put that in the description, a link to that. And I've got some of my other pieces, and I bought some display pieces that I also did another video on. And I could rebuild that. Now there's the 1965 Christmas Wishbook pages. And if this seems like it's fairly well received, I may knock this out before Christmas and do 1965. So anyway, there we go, guys. Hope you liked it, and hope you have a Merry Christmas.